You want a tool that lets you cut metal quickly, stays on the bench without throwing a wrench at you, and actually justifies the dollars you're putting down, not a glossy brochure full of buzzwords. Maybe you've already looked at a handful of CNC plasma tables, seen the price tags, and are wondering if the extra cost of a high-end machine really translates into everyday reliability. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In my research, I dug into forums, watched a few build log videos, and talked to a couple of shop owners who actually run plasma cutters day in and day out. The biggest hesitation I keep hearing is, what if I spend a lot and end up with a machine that's more trouble than it's worth? Let's step back and talk about what a CNC plasma table actually does for a shop. At its core, it's a gantry that moves a plasma torch over a piece of metal, following a computer-generated path. The appeal is obvious: consistent cuts, repeatable geometry, and the ability to tackle anything from automotive brackets to decorative signage. But the category is also riddled with hidden trade-offs. Some units are built on cheap aluminum frames that wobble after a few weeks. Others ship with proprietary software that forces you into a specific workflow, and many require a dedicated 220-volt circuit plus a robust ventilation system. Skipping those details can land you with a table that looks great in the catalog but becomes a daily headache. The STV Motorsports SPARX 5105X10 positions itself as a high-end solution, and that claim is reflected in a few tangible ways. First, the gantry is constructed from thick steel extrusions that feel substantially heavier than the sheet metal frames you see on entry-level models. In the shop I visited, the table sat solidly on a concrete slab and didn't vibrate even when the torch was running at full power. That kind of rigidity matters when you're cutting-inch steel for a structural bracket. Any flex can translate into a drift of a few millimeters, ruining tolerances. The table also comes with a CNC controller that talks the same language as most hobbyist CAM packages, GRBL over USB, so you don't have to learn a brand new interface. It's a small thing, but it saves you the time of mapping pins or wrestling with proprietary drivers. Speed and consistency are the other big selling points the manufacturer highlights. The SPARX 510 can move the torch at up to 5 m/min, which is fast enough to finish a typical 2 feet sheet of mild steel in under 10 minutes, assuming the torch is set up correctly. In practice, I saw a small fabricator run a batch of 12 identical brackets in that time frame, and the cuts were clean with minimal dross. That kind of throughput can be a game changer if you're taking on small production runs. The consistency isn't just about speed. The plasma torch maintains a stable amperage thanks to an internal power regulation circuit. For a shop that needs to cut the same profile over and over, that stability reduces the need for post-cut deburring, which in turn saves labor hours. Durability is where the Made in the USA badge actually shows up. The table's linear rails are sealed ball screw assemblies, which means they're less prone to dust ingress, a common failure point on cheaper machines that sit in a metal shaving-filled environment. The controller housing is coated with a powder coat finish that resists the occasional splash of coolant or oil. In the few months I've seen the unit in use, there have been no signs of wear on the rails or the drive motors, which is a comforting sign if you plan to run it for years. The company also throws in a lifetime support package, which isn't just a marketing line. You can open a ticket and expect a response from a technical specialist who actually knows plasma cutting, not a generic call center script. That said, the SPARX 510 isn't without its drawbacks. The first thing you'll notice is the price tag. It sits comfortably in the mid to high range of the market, which means it's out of reach for a hobbyist who only cuts a few parts a month. The footprint is another consideration. The 5x10 designation refers to a 5-foot width and 10-foot travel length, so you'll need a fairly large, level surface. Most home garages are too cramped. Power requirements are also non-trivial. The unit draws a solid 220V, 30A circuit, and you'll need a proper grounding scheme to avoid arc back.